Welcome to the Karuna Life. I'm Gina Kitzmiller. And for those of you who don't know me, I am an author, I'm a Reiki master teacher, I'm an intuitive, and I am founder of Trimatri Reiki. And so I thought today I would start by checking in with my guides and with the Akashic records for the year of 2026. And I know there's a lot out there right now, and I'm sure many of you have heard about the Fire Horse lunar year that's going to be coming in February. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing and what my guides are telling me, just to give another perspective. And hopefully, it will be helpful for some of you out there. So, this is kind of off the cuff today. I've got a large black lab sleeping over here at my feet. So please get a cup of tea and let's talk about 2026. So you might see me look off to the side. That's what I do when I connect in with my guides. So let's see what they would have to say, and we'll get kind of right into it. So for 2026, when I was feeling into the energy, which a lot of people would agree with, I think is it's very fast moving. What my guide showed me was that it's like you're kind of getting into this river and the current is just going to move. So I know for a lot of us, time has just been speeding up. And I think that that is going to continue, fortunately or unfortunately, it just is, but things are going to begin to move really rapidly. And I think that for this year, the recommendations are to really try to find as much time for pause and stillness as possible. I think the outside world is going to continue to get louder and louder. And the way that I tend to look at a lot of things is that you'll see something kind of happen and it kind of swings in one direction. And then once it's over here, it's almost at an extreme and it needs to come back into balance. And I feel like that's where we've been. It's like we've had these really big swings and we're trying to find our alignment or balance. So you might look at where that might be showing up for you in your personal life as well, because often what's going on with us in our personal lives are a reflection out into the collective. Um, but it is going to be really important this year to really pause and take time. If not, what's going to happen is we're going to get caught up in this current and it's going to go. And then you might not necessarily like or intend where you end up. And there's going to be some really great opportunities that come up this year. Yet we want to make sure that we're able to make them from an aligned and informed decision rather than getting kind of caught up in oftentimes that adrenaline. Sometimes those are great decisions, but I don't know about you, but oftentimes those are some of the ones that I go, "Oh, I kind of was reacting, out of that very, like, frenetic energy, and it wasn't coming from a really grounded place." And what they're chiming in and saying is like buyer's remorse, right? So sit with things, allow yourself to sleep on it, pause and ask those deeper questions. Very few things will need to have that immediate response. That's going to be really important for this year. Now, I always like to ask my guides for a theme for the year. And it's just something that I started doing in the last couple of years. And they said the theme for this year, when it showed up, is the return of the mystic. And I come from a Catholic background. I adore mystics. So I was very pleased with this theme. And so, what would that mean for some of you? Well, a return to the mystic is really about returning to that power of intuition. I think more and more people are not only going to be coming online, so to speak, in terms of their intuition, but many of you are going to start to have very clear communication with loved ones in spirit. They're already there. So they're going to be getting chills. They're like knocking at the door. They're calling on the phone, but you're going to really be able to pick up and hear and respond. And it's going to come in really amazing ways. Some of you are also going to be talking with your guides more frequently and much more clearly. Whereas they're showing me some people feel like they reach out and it's kind of like a closed door. Because the veil is thinning, because consciousness is rising, you're going to be surprised at some of the responses you get. Now, they want to be really clear. They're saying not everyone's going to channel guides in the same way, but for some people will like to be a trans channel, and that's where they really are channeling another being coming through, and they've completely moved over on the bench, so to speak, so that they're not in control of like their facial features and their voice. And that can work really well for some people. For others, it's going to be more communication like what I do, which is I'm talking with my guides, but yet I'm still here and fully present. I'm just translating as I get it. what they're drawing my attention to is that for some people, it's going to look different than that. And they're saying the issue or the problem is that oftentimes people, they're kind of chuckling and telling me sometimes we get a little narrow minded where it's like they're like, you just gave two options. And they're like, that's two options out of countless options of how we can talk and communicate and how that's going to look. And some of you, it's very physical. You get chills, you get tingles like up and down your leg. The hairs will stand up on the back of your neck. They're saying, and then for others, it's going to be subtle and it's in nature, and that it's just this very quiet communion. It doesn't have to be in the form of words or communication. It's just that inner knowing. So they're kind of saying to look at that, and then they would love for you to kind of tear up the rule book. They're saying this is part of the energy of what they're saying the fire horse. It's freedom, it's expression. It's also getting out of these boxes that we tend to put ourselves in. So start to push back on that. If I tell you channeling needs to look a certain way, there's gonna be a pushback, "Okay, well, that looks great for you, but why can't it look different for me?" And that's the energy that is gonna come into this year, I think, really strong, and so which I love, because what that means is more and more people are going to kind of get out of their own way and say, "Yes, this is how one person does it, and gosh, I don't wanna do it that way. I actually think this is how my guides talk to me, or this is how I perceive them, and it's gonna be completely different, and it's gonna be perfect for that person." So more and more of you are gonna be stepping into that role of intuitive. You may or may not do it professionally. Some of you want to do that. I'm like, "Green light, go." Yes, like more and more people can use this. And for some of you, it's going to be much more subtle. It's gonna be something that you might use in your professional life. It might be something that you are just a very good friend, that you're the person people go to because you intuitively know where to direct them in kindness and compassion, and maybe give them food for thought in areas that there's a little bit of opportunity for growth, and that you do it so beautifully that people want to be in your energy. You're the ones that they tend to gravitate to for advice because you're the sage listener, right? That's really needed. So, my suggestion would be to honor where your soul would like for you to go, and kind of let go of some of the expectations, let go and allow it to look the way that it needs to look this year. So, I'm asking my guides what else they would like for us to know. And they're saying stillness. Stillness is going to be really, really important this year. It is really important for those of us to take time. They're saying if you want to be more intuitive, if you want to talk with your guides, if you want more guidance from spirit, it really is going to be found in silence. And they're saying there's one thing that is kind of in short supply right now on our planet, and it's silence, because we're constantly getting bombarded with all sorts of pieces of information and opinions and energies. So it's all kind of in this mixing pot. It's going to be really important for people to begin to step away from the noise on the outside world, put in headphones and play music if you need to. Sit by your window. This is my space back here where I sit to meditate. It doesn't have to be super formal. I think sometimes people think that we need to be in this really beautiful ashram or a beautiful garden in order to meditate. And that doesn't happen. Some of my favorite meditation places have been literally getting out of bed and sitting on the floor right next to it and just creating that space. So it's okay if it doesn't look the same way. If it's your space and you make it your own, it really can do magical things for you. So don't be afraid to kind of claim your space or create it if you don't have it. So they're also saying that for some of you, even being in the car can be incredibly meditative. They're saying, but set the intention, make it meditative. They're saying, be careful when you're driving. But for some of you, being out in nature, driving on country roads, it puts you into that calmer, meditative mind. So that's something that you might look at as well, but it's going to be really important moving into this year. So I probably will talk more about the fire horse. That actually doesn't start until February. So we have some time. So don't worry, we aren't in the midst of the fire horse year yet. But I was reading up on the fire horse because I like to learn about things, and I wanted to see what I could learn about it. And I had heard obviously about Chinese astrology and that I did know it followed the lunar calendar rather than our calendar that we use in the West of January 1st. But I didn't realize that it was paired with an element. And I studied Qigong. I love the five element theory. And so learning that, I was like, oh, this is awesome because this is what I've been reading about in my spare time. And so we will talk a little bit more about that probably in a later podcast episode. But really, when we talk about fire, we're talking about transformation. We're talking about passionate energy. It's fast moving. It is something that really kind of comes up and out, and then it has shaped something so that it's not the same. It is something that will still need to be in balance because if we really just immerse, if fire gets imbalanced, that can actually lead to kind of negative emotions. It could lead to impulsiveness. So, we're going to need to kind of calibrate and balance this year of the fire horse energy. How can we use it for our greater good? And how can we capitalize with it by using its like positive traits while making sure that we stay balanced and don't get kind of caught up in this whirlwind? And then at the end of the year, say, oh my goodness, either we've burned relationships that maybe we weren't going to burn down completely, or we acted impulsively and now we have some regrets. So, those are the things to be aware of when we come into this year. My guides want to chime in, so I'm just going to let them kind of speak as well. They're saying that more and more, and they do like this because the new year, there's more and more people kind of coming on and talking about the new year. And they're saying that that is really great and wonderful. They like that. But they want to also remind and bring your attention back to the year that you create is the year that you create. So they're saying be careful about stories of doom and gloom. Take a look at where you are putting your energy, what emotions it brings up, but they would also really encourage it's not necessarily about vision boards, although those can be helpful. It is about setting your intention and your awareness to what type of year do you want to create. Have you thought about that? I know the holidays were really busy this year. Did you take some time to sit and ask yourself, what is it I'm calling in this year? What areas do I really want to water? And what areas do I think that I may be stepping away from? They do want to also have a little bit of a side note of I do believe this is going to be a year of change for a lot of people. I do think that there are going to be, I would say, a substantial amount of people exiting the system, so to speak, this year. And I know that even for me, that makes me a little bit sad, right? But they're saying they just want to remind everyone that those stepping out, it's almost the way they usually show it to me is if everyone was playing like a card game and it's their hand and they're playing their last card and then they're done and they're okay with that. They're going to play and then push back from the table and let those of us who are still playing be here. For some of them, they're going to be expected passes. For other ones, it's not. And those are the ones that are going to be a little bit harder, they're saying this year, which they want to point out is why it's going to be a blessing and really an opportunity for those who are ready to step into closer communication with their loved ones in spirit. For those of you who will be working with your guides, to work with them and that to know that whether it's in like communication like I have or something different, they will be walking with all of you and walking you through those transformative periods. Death, they're telling me, is really often an opening. It's an opening in the heart that breaks open. It's transformative energy. It's one that I know for those of us that have gone through it, it's not something that we want to go through, right? It's painful. It's hard to grieve someone that has passed. And yet they're saying, and yet there can be really beautiful things that have come through what we would call a dark night of the soul, in transformation in ways that we can't foresee or would have wanted to go through. They can't make it all okay, but they can make sure that you are supported and they can make sure that it is like what we would say the best experience possible as you go through it. So please don't hesitate to, if you feel like I have nowhere to turn, that's when you really can start to turn to your team in spirit and to your loved ones in spirit. Ask for help, ask to be guided to videos, to teachers, to mentors, and people that can help you walk through those chapters. And it will be given, is what they're showing me. Now, they don't want to end on like kind of a harder note, they're saying. So they want to also bring up that this is going to be the year of opportunity for some. Some of you are going to really step out and shine your gifts in ways that are going to even surprise you. I think for some of you, you are going to look back on 2026 as the year that you kind of stopped getting in your own way and you really step out in a big way. And that at the end, so next January, that you look back and those seeds have been sown, or I think for a lot of you, they're going to be really blooming and you're gonna look back and go, "Did I just do that?" Like, that kind of energy and like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that." It's kind of they're saying that the fire horse energy is like a do it anyway. It's this like propelling force forward so that for so many who would have stopped, right? Where there would have been fear, oh, I can't do that, right? What will people think? Or that's for other people. This energy is going to propel us forward. So it's going to move some of you really into the spotlight because that's where you're supposed to be. That's where your work is supposed to be. So if you suddenly find yourself playing a bigger role on like a bigger stage, so to speak, trust that that's where your heart and soul's alignment is and that it is happening in the time that it's meant to. They're showing me kind of that they were trying to get some of you into like the river, so to speak, and into this fast moving current. And for some reason, a few of you were a little slow to get in, like kind of like, oh, I can't, or oh, I don't know, and it's almost like you're getting to kind of take one step in and then you're just gonna take off, and it is almost that kickback a little bit. So, they're kind of laughing and saying, "Enjoy the ride." And they really want or would encourage, they're saying, to have fun with this year. This is gonna be a really creative year. It's like kind of no holds barred, I think is the phrase that they're trying to drop in that there is going to be a lot of change. They're saying it's just gonna be swift moving, but trust also that the people that are meant to be kind of the light workers is that old term I would use, but really I would say, I'm not a real crazy fan of the term light worker. I feel like it's been overused. So I'm gonna say light worker. I kind of asking if they wanna give me a better word for it. Leaders, mentors, they're saying the teachers, the coaches, all of these different roles that people are going to be playing, they are going to be really kind of coming online in a much, much bigger way this year. And it is going to be needed, they're saying, for the next, and that's not out of a fear base, but just it's going to be needed. In 2028, we're in a very different place, and we need to have some of those people kind of up and in position, so to speak. And that's really what's going to be happening. So it's a good thing, though. They're saying, don't allow that to collapse you in fear of like, "Oh, what's gonna happen?" It's more of, "We've got you." Everyone's coming in with their soul contracts. All of you, they're saying lovingly, knew this was the time period that you were coming into. There's no one here they're saying that is like surprised on a soul level or, "Oh, I didn't know that this was the time." Very much they want to encourage you to know by design. So if you are here, you do have a role to play, even if that is not in a very public sense in your private life, in your family life, which you're cultivating. I always say moms and dads and families. Oh my goodness, like that energy in raising these little ones. It's a brilliant job, right? It's a huge job. It's a big undertaking. How you're creating it, they're saying just the education system and teachers and the effects that we have on each other. It doesn't always have to look like a quote unquote energy worker. And that's going to really start, I think, to shift and evolve as well over the next few years. So you are here for a reason. Your soul is lit up, even if our human part sometimes wants to constrict and go, "Oh, I don't know. This is really uncomfortable down here," right? It's like, trust that you are exactly where you need to be, and if you don't feel like you are where you need to be, they're saying that's a really great place as well, because that's where we can start to ask some questions and get direction, and they're gonna go, "And you do that by silence." So that is where I am going to pause, today. I just wanted to hop on really briefly, but I also wanted to let everyone know because I will forget, and I just decided this today, that I am going to be leading an online event on January 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be recorded, but I wanted to offer an event so that people could connect in with their guides, potentially connect in with their own Akashic records, and really ask those questions in a guided space of what is 2026 going to mean to you on a personal level, and to get those answers and guidance to those questions for how do you really want to set up your year. And I wanted to take it beyond vision boards because I like vision boards and I feel like we are moving beyond that. So, hey, you know what you need to do? You need to sit down with your team of guides and angels and helpers in your own soul's knowledge and ask those questions to get really clear and get some insight about what this year can mean for you in some areas that you might look at exploring, in some areas that are starting to move into the rearview mirror. And that's okay. So, I hope some of you can join me. I will include the Eventbrite link in the show notes. And I did want to do one more thing. So, if you know me, I like oracle cards. And so I wanted to do a quick oracle card reading for the group because I can. And I think it's a great. And if you don't have oracle cards, maybe 2026 is the year that you start to look at them. So let's just ask the guides and angels for the group. So, everyone that will be watching this in the future, because time is not linear, and we're just going to ask for the most perfect card that they would like for this group to receive leading into 2026 and for this podcast episode. So, and I always say they'll make me work for it sometimes. So let me just top card. Ah, focus. There's the card. Okay. So focus. I have to say that wasn't like, and they'll laugh at me. I was kind of like, okay, focus. Like, they're laughing and they're saying, "Do you know who needs to focus?" Like this one. Okay. So this is a Denise Lynn Oracle deck, Sacred Destiny. I like all of her decks. They're really good, but she gives a little paragraph about the card and they don't like when I skip it. So we're going to read it because I think there is kind of an energy to it. So, Snowy Mountain Peak Focus. Mountains traditionally represent transcendence and spiritual evolution. They also symbolize rising above mundane situations and reaching greater heights. The snow at the peak represents pristine clarity. Mountain peaks are often the destination of spiritual oh, they're going to kill me because I can't say this word. Pilgrimages. I hope I said that right. Does that you guys have a word that you just can't say? That is the word, and I'm laughing that this is the card. Okay. So many cultures believe that the tops of mountains were the resting points of the gods and celestial beings. The sacred landscape wants you to know what you focus on is what you pull to you. So put your attention on that which is worthwhile. Concentrate on one desire. Direct your intent to one thing rather than being scattered in many directions. When your thoughts and actions are unfocused, it dilutes and diminishes your forward movement. It's much easier to gain results when you are concentrating on one path. Gather your inner resources and with intensity and passion, go forward and upward, and you'll see results. This is also a card of spiritual transcendence and traveling to higher realms. So stay focused as you elevate your higher consciousness. You are close to heavenly realms. That's a good card. So, focus 2026. What are you focusing on? They're saying, are you focusing on chaos? Are you focusing on distractions? Are you just kind of floating along and letting the current carry you? Or are you being decisive? They're saying that is really going to be needed for this year. And they're really funny. They're just saying they're really excited to get to talk with everyone today. And I think they're kind of I feel like my guides when they're laughing at me, I feel like there's a little bit of that going on as well too. So, I hope that you guys have a wonderful 2026. As always, if you like this podcast, please consider leaving us 5 stars and following. We would be really grateful. I have some really great guests lined up for this year that I'm very excited about. And if you have any topics or people that you think would be great to have on the podcast, please feel free to email me. You can email me at support at the Karuna, Karuna life, life.com. I would be happy to hear your comments and suggestions. I also wanted to note that I have some new offerings at the Karuna Life, including a self-paced online guided retreat called Retreat Into Stillness, which I just published in December that I'm very excited about. So Let me know what you think, and I will talk with you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.